And so when you're doing building machine learning models, it matters a lot the data that you use. So your model is as good as your data. Okay.
Have you ever used Siri on your iPhone or Google Assistant on your Android device to accomplish a task? If you have, this should be very interesting. And even if you haven't, you should be informed on how to do that on your device. So today, I have a very special guest who'll allow to shortly introduce themselves.
So hello guys, my name is Matt. I work as a software engineer, and for the last 4 years I've been working in a sound company building a voice assistant, and today I'm very glad to be on the show to talk about it. So,
can you just tell our viewers how many miles you flew just to be on this episode?
Let's say I flew over a sea, and I was on an 8-hour flight, so I'm happy to be in Kenya and in this secret location I'm not supposed to reveal. But yes, so yeah, I work in Europe, so I'm based in Paris, doing building voice assistant for a company called Sonos, and we build smart Wi-Fi speakers. And yeah, I'll talk more about it. Yeah.
In our past episode, we talked about ChatGPT. What is the difference between ChatGPT and what you're doing with Sonos?
Yeah, that's a good question. So if you're familiar with ChatGPT, you know that the way you interact with it is mostly via text. So you write something to it, and then it will also respond via text. My line of work is a bit different. So when you're dealing with a voice assistant, it's mostly through voice. So it's not a textual interface. You speak and you speak to the assistant. So if you're aware of, like, an iPhone user, you'd say, "Hey Siri," and then do some sort of either question or task. Same thing with Google. So in terms of machine learning, they are very similar concepts. But I would say the big difference is just that one is more textual, and the other one is more audio and voice based.
I see.
Yeah.
So, well, the other day I was on YouTube and I checked out a video of MKBHD. Yeah? He was talking about various voice assistants such as Google Assist. We have
Alexa.
Siri, Alexa,
Yeah.
and a few others that he had sampled out.
Yeah.
And he did a comparison of how they do perform by performing a couple of tests. And it matched that Google Assistant was, the best.
According to him, though.
According to him, though.
Yeah.
So my question was, right, so for us, in my instance, sometimes I try to use Siri to maybe make a call.
Yeah.
And for our own accents and maybe even our local names, Siri easily picks up what I'm trying to say, and it's able to call that person. Say if I was calling Constantine, Ingumba.
Name.
Yes, it easily picks up that in the contacts and will call him.
Yeah.
But when I try to use Google Assistant, it won't do that. So the question I have for you, Matt, is what really goes into developing a good voice assistant, and what makes one better than the other?
Yeah. So voice assistant, as I think we had mentioned a bit before, hinted, is they are AI based. And so when you're doing building machine learning models, it matters a lot the data that you use. So your model is as good as your data. Okay. And when it comes to voice assistant, the amount of data and also the variance of the data matters a lot. So for example, even just taking English as an example, based on where you are on the world, you might speak a different dialect of English, have a different accent of the language.
Based on your primary school teacher.
Yes, based on where you come from.
Yeah.
And all these attributes, they actually matter for the quality of the voice assistant.
Yeah.
So yeah, as you mentioned in your case where you found out that one assistant is able to understand you better than the other.
Yeah.
Most likely is that in the training they were able to have data that captures or at least is close to how you speak the language, and so it's easy for the assistant to recognize what you're saying, because it's really the audio that's used at the training is what is used to build the model. And so the more variations you have,
the better it
yeah,
is.
the more coverage and better coverage you would have in the model at the end.
So just to ask a follow-up question, you've mentioned that the models are as good as the different variants of the same language or the different dialects that it's exposed to. So like now in your experience, where do you get like this data? Like now, for me who's in Kenya, I have my Luya accent, he has his Kikuyu accent and so forth. So, because he'll say, for example, primary, I will say primary. And the model is supposed to understand. So where do you get this data?
Yes.
How do you make sure that RAF is represented, I am represented?
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, I'll try to just give, in broad stroke, the process of essentially how you'd come up with a voice assistant and the model for such assistant. So normally, based on your application, you first figure out the demographic you want to support, because language is really tied to demographic. So based on the region, so say if it's English in Africa, or I don't know, in the USA, then once you figure out that this is the demographic you're interested in building a voice assistant for, you now move on to doing the data collection. And at this phase, what you're interested in is covering as much variance in your demographic as possible, right? So even to give an example, like in the using United States as an example, right? You have the American English, but you also have the African American English, right? The country also has a lot of Hispanic people, so they have people who sort of use Spanish accents when speaking English. And so the idea would be you get sample from all these different demographics. You also even consider age, because you will have kids interacting with your assistant. You can have teenagers, and as you progress with age, your voice also changes, right? And even gender, it matters. The way men and women speak is different. So so it's really important when you're capturing the data to have as much variance as possible. And even sometimes one way of even trying to make your assistant robust is what you do, something called data enrichment. So the idea is if you can imagine where you speak. Sometimes you could be in your house where it's quiet. You could be outside, like the way we are here, and it's a bit windy. There's ambient noise around us. Or you could be in a busy market, right? And I don't know, you want to find out maybe the price of something, right? So the idea with the data enrichment is once you've recorded and gotten your initial data set, you can then add additional sources of either noise or do some audio processing to try and simulate different types of conditions. So mostly it's acoustic conditions, simulate there being ambient noise, or I don't know, some marketplace or whatever. You can imagine having the voice recording and adding in the background some sort of noise. And so this will improve the robustness of the model, right? And so once you have your data, then the rest of the process is really how you train a normal machine learning model.
Yeah.
You would split your data set, so you have essentially
training set.
So you have your training set and your evaluation set, right? You use the training to build up your model, and once you have trained the model, you would use the evaluation set to evaluate it and see how it performs. And this process is iterative, so you can keep tweaking your model until you're satisfied that you're having a proper
confidence level.
Yeah,
confidence
exactly.
Level. Whatever you mentioned.
Yes, in the last episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but so let me ask you: would I be correct in saying that the main difference between the voice assistants that we have in the market currently would be how the kind of data they had as the input, as the training data, all the way to how the machine learning engineers will, develop that algorithm?
So yes, data is one of the components. It's a major component of building assistant.
Yeah.
But also there are some other things you have to take into consideration because at the end of the day, you're the one interacting, be it to your phone or your tele using the remote. So one key factor is how quick the assistant is to respond, or how snappy it is. How long? Because when we speak, like the way we are doing now, we don't actually take a lot of pauses. We are always, I finish my sentence and you continue. And it's like the gap is, for human speakers, is about 300 milliseconds after I speak for you to respond.
Yeah, that's very quick,
Yeah. And so for voice assistant, it's also very important for it to be able to respond quickly to your queries. Because if you ask something and it takes even 10 seconds.
Yeah, I think I've seen it with Siri. Sometimes you ask Siri to do something, and sometimes it feels like Siri is sort of cheating you. Because Siri will say, I can't connect to the internet, or something like that.
Yeah.
But you can see clearly that you have an internet connection. So maybe that
or even delays for a very long time, or even goes quiet.
I've heard you mention about how you collect a lot of data that you train the models on. I just wanted you to clarify, how do you collect this data? Because I'm assuming you either collect the data from the customers or you have guys from all over the world. So like you'll come to Kenya, collect data from me, Raf, and some other people, and then feed that data into your model. Is that how you collect the data, or how do you do it?
Yeah, so I would say I'll give two approaches. So one based on like my line of work, because it's a bit different to like the common voice assistant. So in our case, what we do is we do what's a data campaign. So we do data collection where essentially you enlist people online based on the demographic you want. So for example, part of the assistance that we ship on our speakers is an English assistant. So we do collect data from English speakers based on the markets that we serve. Okay. And so this is done through an online campaign. People will enlist to provide their voice recordings for training our models. And in this campaign, we also have like a list of things we want to cover. So for example, for Sonos speakers is mostly around music or some other tasks that you normally can be associated with a smart speaker. And so we try to provide some transcripts to do coverage for this domain. Okay. So this is one approach where you're doing a data campaign, reaching out to people, essentially collecting data that way. Another approach, which is more common to the voice assistant on your phone, is when you enable this voice assistant feature, you're normally prompted to agree to some data collection. Okay? And so the idea here is every time I use Google Assistant or Siri, they are able to capture my voice recording, and then for them they can use that either to evaluate their models or do further trainings and improve their model. And so it's very popular because for them it's in machine learning, data acquisition is it's a bit expensive, and so for companies, if they can be able to just essentially crowdsource data this way, then it's like very easy for them to improve their models over time.
Well, that's quite a lot of data that comes in from the customer.
Exactly.
I look forward to the day when voice assistants will be able to easily pick out many accents, because at the moment it's like most of these voice assistants are only made for American markets where they have good English, but when it comes to the African market where accents vary quite a lot, they probably do not work very, very well. And it's a big market. Africa is a big market.
But I think that's why sometimes when you mention a name, it's like confused.
Exactly. So with that, Matt, and given the breadth of the market that is there, what do you think is the future of voice assistants, and what do you think would be the best applications of voice assistants in today's world and probably in the future?
So for me, the industry, so I'm a bit optimistic about it. But I would say voice adoption is only gonna get better with time. Of course, we have a couple of issues, like the issue with data privacy and the concern about how your data is used, and as you are aware, voice data is biometric. It can be used to identify you, and so it's really sensitive data. But I think there are advancements in machine learning that make it over time actually easier to build very robust, efficient models without having to use a lot of data. So that is one aspect that would actually make it over time easy even to build models that can understand you, even if you do not speak like a common dialect of English, or you have an accent that is not so common, right? In terms of applications, I could give you even scenarios where the use of voice assistant is actually better and even safer than using text or something.
Go ahead.
And a good example is when you are driving, right? So it's somewhere where you're occupied, you can't use your hands, or you need to you're focused on the road ahead, and you would like, for example, I don't know, to tell the assistant to call someone, or I don't know, to play some music or whatever, right? And so in such situations, actually using a voice assistant is a better experience and a much safer one, right? Then also is there's more and more automation that is using voice, because voice is really natural to us. When you as a kid, you first learn through speaking. You don't really learn through typing or writing.
Exactly.
Right? And so speaking is kind of natural for us, and so you can see a good area where voice has been used is like in home automations, where you come into your house,
open door,
open a door,
switch on the lights,
like you have a smart TV, you notice that it also has a voice function.
I normally use mine a lot as well.
And for me, I think the future is you will no longer need to have a remote, because you can just talk to your telly and say, I don't know, switch to this channel or play this content, right? And so I think there is a lot of areas where voice will take over, and it will feel like just a natural replacement, and even it will be way better than the current way we are doing things.
I'm just thinking, even the possibilities are endless with just AI. For example, I was just thinking as you're speaking, I was thinking about how we talked about ChatGPT and how you type in some question. Now I'm just thinking, what if instead of me having to type this question, I
talk
just
to
speak
it.
to
Yeah.
ChatGPT and it's able to generate something like, tell it, write this code for me,
Yes. Yes.
or write this application for
You
me,
don't
and
have to
then
type it.
I don't have to type.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah,
that-
so it makes your work very
Well,
easy.
much easier.
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
and
it-
efficient.
Yeah, and as I said, like because speaking is natural to us, the amount of information you can convey
Yeah.
through voice
Mm-hmm.
versus through text is like an order of magnitude.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
In a specific amount of time.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I can speak like I don't know, 30 seconds and be able to share a lot
lot
of
of
And even
information.
just thinking also, and even as a translator, assume you've trained the voice assistant in Kikuyu language, and then you are in a French country. Then you just speak to the voice assistant in Kikuyu, and then it's able to translate that and give the output in French to
Yeah,
somebody.
I've seen actually it
Yes.
being used
Yes.
in some cases. Yeah,
because
so that's very-
even the I mean the current models that are applied in machine translations,
Yeah.
they do exactly kind of this by using text, where the input and the output is text.
Yeah.
But it's not far-fetched to say that you could also use voice
Yeah.
and also generate voice as output.
All right. Thanks, Madhi. I think that has been very informative. And
Very
I know MKBHD has watched. Will probably watch this and get to understand why he probably rated one voice assistant one way or the other.
Or why one of the assistants performed better than the other.
Yeah. So, Matt, I think if we can have you for another episode, you can. I know there are many people who would want to know if I want to get into machine learning or
Yeah.
the AI field, then what would I really need to major in school? What path do I need to take? And I really hope that you can be available for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was really nice having these conversations, and of course, I'll be happy to come back and talk more about my career path and what I've had to, the skills I've had to gain
along the way,
yes.
because I know you've had quite a journey.
Thanks a lot. I think Constantine, do you have anything else to say to Matt?
No. Just to thank Matthew for availing himself. I know you are jet lagged, but he took some time to just come and speak to us when we requested, and I look forward to having more interactions for the few weeks you'll be around, and I think we can be able to share the knowledge out there, so that I believe in sharing.
Yeah.
Knowledge, the key to knowledge is just sharing and having this conversation.
it's
So
Yeah,
really
so,
thankful.
Right, thank you everyone for watching this episode, and I really hope if you have any questions for Matt or even for us that we can pass to Matt, you can just type them in the comment section below, and then we will be able to get to them. If you have any questions, we will also be able to respond still on the chat section, or probably do an episode on the same. So thank you so much for tuning in. I look forward to the next episode, which probably Matt will give us, his career path and what he has had to do, and also advise anyone out there who is in school and who is probably also want to change their career path to AI.
Because
or
probably Matt started here, went there,
and then he's now here.
Zigzag until he's here. But now he can just tell you, follow this straight line to get here, and that can be very helpful.
Right, so thank you everyone. Hope to see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Ciao.